Whoa, I'm done easy. I was done early there, baby. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Screen Tested. I am your host Tyrant, and in today's episode we are debunking a viral ninja and attempting a world record. I'm sure that wasn't on your bingo card for today's episode. Yes, I've been wanting to talk about this for a little while because it's a weird one, right? And I feel like I have a couple of things to say. I've actually done some of these things as well, and I'm not too impressed. And I don't want to, tarnish some other person's skills or what they're doing. You do you, I really don't care. The reason why I felt like I wanted to make this episode is because a lot of people, like this has gone viral, right? These have hundreds of thousands, millions of views, whatever it is. And people think it's real and it's just straight up fucking fake. Not all of it. There are some things that look kind of legit, but in a general sense, a lot of it is edited. And so I wanted to talk about it, and I just wanted to show you guys some stuff. I don't want it to be too repetitive, so I'll go in and I'll show you some of the stuff that I'm talking about. But I don't want to harp on it just because once I explain it, you get the idea, right? So this here is Mo Ying Jing, I believe his name is. And you might have even seen some of these clips going around the internet. So let's start with one of the ones that looks legit. This looks real. I have done this as well myself personally, and that is cutting an arrow with a sword out of the air. Now the reason why this one looks real, I thought we'd start with the real one obviously, is because you can see the arrow. And this is important because I'll show you some other stuff later. If we go frame by frame, you can see the arrow traveling perfectly with the right motion blur, with the right speed, the right trajectory, and he cuts it in half. You then see the pieces fly up into the air. This is all realistic. And the reason why that's important is because when we get to some of this guy's other clips, it's not the same. So this one here is hitting a ping pong ball with his staff. Problem is, if you actually go frame by frame, you see that there is a clear transition line of editing. For example, that one there, the ball disappears. You see in these frames there is consistent motion blur on the ping pong ball or whatever it is. Each frame you see it, then all of a sudden it crossfades out of existence. Crossfade right there, and then appears magically again as if he's hit it. Now in motion this obviously looks like you're doing it, especially because it's in like 480p or whatever. But you can see right there, ball is there, all of a sudden out of existence, appears back in existence. Now in different frame rates you will get different results when it comes to these sorts of things. Obviously if you film it in 25 frames, 30 frames per second, you're going to have some frames where things look a little bit funky just because the frame rate is so low. That's why you don't really do too much high-speed action stuff with it. I do, because I only have a camera that goes up to 4K 30 frames per second. That's why I have my 120 frame little action cam, 2 camera angles as well. That makes it almost impossible to fake. But that's why I do that as well. These are just one static camera, which makes it very easy to do some editing tricks, do a clone, get a clean plate and then put all your things in post, which is really what is crazy about this, because if you're going to edit them, you could at least get good at editing and do way better than this. You can see here, this one here is a very egregious one. We have a bunch of frames with absolutely zero things in it. All of a sudden a pen appears on the left of the screen, and then the ping pong ball appears as well, and then he's got it. So it's a lot of this stuff, and this is what I find fascinating, is because he's doing a lot of things that he's obviously editing them, they're not real, but then he did do what looks to be like a legit cut with the arrow. Then we come to this one. This one is fascinating. This one's fascinating. It's a world record. I looked it up. It is a world record. And I don't agree with this one. And the reason why I don't agree with this one is really simple. He didn't use a real sword. He doesn't use a real sword in any of his tricks or whatever you want to call them. He uses a bamboo fake one. So I don't know how you can set a world record for a sword, like a sword world record, without using a real sword. That seems crazy to me. On top of that, he's cutting 5 apples as fast as humanly possible. Now, if you look here, he's not actually doing full extension as well. He brings it out, then brings it straight back. Now, the reason why this is important is because with a real sword, it has real risk of cutting yourself. You could cut your fingers off if you don't know what you're doing. With a fake sword like this, with a wood sword, you don't have that fear, and that fear does make you a little bit slower. So this is why I'm so baffled that you can set a Guinness World Record for a sword, like a sword record, without having to use a real sword. What the fuck? What the fuck? And even then, I'm going to be honest here. I don't really find this record to be that impressive either. He's cutting 5 apples in 11.1 seconds or something, and he's not doing full extensions either. So this one I'm not really impressed by. I'm genuinely not impressed by. Then we get to some other stuff, right? This one here, I mean, come on. He's literally running sideways. Like, this is physically not, gravity doesn't let you do this. He's got a fire sword. I mean, been there, done that. And then there's also the double jump one where he literally he jumps up, gravity starts to bring, and then he's just next frame, 20 feet in the air. So like, there's just so much editing here. This one here is crazy. He throws the shurikens, and then they disappear, crossfade, and boom. Like, you can see them traveling frame by frame. They crossfade out, then all of a sudden, bang, it crossfades, bang. If you haven't already, you should consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. So let's have a look at some real shots. Let's have a look at some real stuff. So this one here, I shot a arrow off Boromir's head while facing obviously the opposite way. This is shot in 4K 50 frames per second, and you can see the arrow travel through the air pretty much every single frame. And because we have 2 cameras as well, you see the exact moment. If I go back, exact moment it hits, you see the apple break the exact same way. This is 100% a real shot. On top of that, it's 4K, so you can see every little bit of the motion blur, you know, the quality and stuff like that. It's not shot in 480p and, you know, has been edited and fixed and stuff like that. Next shot, Nate shot an arrow at me. Let's go frame by frame. He releases the arrow. The arrow's got very consistent motion blur the entire way. I cut it straight in half, and then for good measure, we've got a second camera angle. You see the arrow break the exact same way that it did in the original shot. Like, real things, I think personally, are cooler than faking them and editing. Fire sword, me and Nate, we fought with fire swords. You can see fire is 100% real, swords are real, everything's real in this. Everything matches. Yeah. Then let's have a look at something with a lower frame rate. For example, we look at when I cut the little tiny pill with a draw cut. I just got that first try. Did you see that?
No. Show them.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera.
Actually, turn it. Yes.
This one is a little bit harder because it is in lower quality. I'm having to use my cameras, which are 4K 30 frames per second and 4K on a little cam at 120 frames per second. And you can see as we go through, with that lower frame rate, it does it's obviously you're capturing less frames, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to see everything, but you still can see a consistent trajectory of an item versus it just disappearing from existence and no longer being there. So I thought to finish out today's episode, why don't I attempt a world record? Do I think this is particularly impressive? No. Do I think that I'll beat him? I don't know, but I'm going to use a real sword, and that's what I feel like counts the most. You know, when you're using bamboo fake swords for a lot of these things, you don't really have to worry about slicing your hands or hurting yourself. So you can be as quick as you want, but you're not real. Using a real sword is paramount for doing any sort of sword tricks or whatever you want to call them. All right, we are out here to set our world record. Now, there's a couple of little caveats to mention. First off, I couldn't find any of the details on how it's timed. So what we're going to do is Marcus, who's behind the camera, is going to yell go. I'm then going to start, and then the last apple that I slice in the air, that's when the time will stop. Using a real katana, this is legit, and see if I can come close or at least get in the realm of 11 seconds. Now, I think if I get into 11 seconds territory, that's a win because this is a real sword. This has real weight behind it, so it's slower. On top of that, I can also cut my hand because it's a razor sharp sword. So, without further ado, let's cut some apples.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Count me down.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa, I'm done easy. I was done early there, baby. Now that's what I'm talking about. Half cut apples, even smaller. All right, now I'm done. Whoa, I'm done easy. Real steel sword, real danger, 5 apples. One of them might not have been the prettiest cut, but I think that proves the point aptly. And like I said, it's weird because I don't consider this to be particularly impressive. This is just me trying to do something as fast as humanly possible. There's no like technique or beauty in it that I would say. I'm not even doing a full extension, and neither's he. He's doing a little bang and then back. I like to come out, cut, bring it back around, and then a nice slow sheathing. Yeah, it's just one of those things. And I mean, when you edit your clips and then you put in real clips as well, I don't know what you're doing. But I do think that is going to be all for today's episode, guys. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. Now, I want to keep this in mind. This isn't like a attacking video of whoever this guy is. It isn't that. It's more so these have gone viral, and so many people just believe them and think they're real, which is crazy because there are people out there who do really cool, you know, tricks and you know, stuff that I would consider to be, you know, much better than this, that is legit. So when people see this fake stuff and then they go, oh, you know, this is amazing, it's like, come on, man, come on. Anyway, that's gonna be all. Thanks for watching, guys. Genuinely hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'll see you next week in another episode. Have a good one. Something you really don't want to be doing is cutting acidic fruits and then putting it straight back into like a scabbard, say, or a sheath or something, because you're going to be putting all those terrible things into your scabbard. So don't do that as well. That's not a good idea.